The eyes of Texas were on Deng Xiaoping today.
Pause it right there. Now look inside that carriage. Zoom it in. That man inside is Deng Xiaoping. Now, I actually did a poll before I made this video to see what the name recognition was there, and about 2/3 of you didn't know who he was, and that's fine. Deng Xiaoping was China's leader from 1978 to 1992, and this rodeo is actually kind of key to understanding his gigantic influence. In fact, you know what? Let's cut the country music. This video is a little too serious for that. Deng changed his country, set the groundwork for the global economy of the 21st century, and was arguably one of the most influential figures of the 20th century. And here he is, wearing a cowboy hat.
The United States of America and the People's Republic of China.
During the rodeo, Deng will be given a cowboy hat.
Waving his new Stetson hat, then aboard the old stagecoach.
Vice Premier of China.
It was hard to beat the Texas rodeo.
So I love the local coverage of this event because I'd argue this is kind of an inflection point for the 21st century. And yet, watch this.
As rodeos go, this is not one of your biggies. It's usually put on for convention delegates from Houston. They need something to do at night, something colorful with a local flavor.
This guy is just annoyed that the rodeo is not a good rodeo.
But most of the Chinese visitors here tonight don't know a good rodeo from a bad one, so it doesn't make much difference. About 2,000 people are here, including around 700 reporters and photographers.
He is so annoyed that they are not seeing a good rodeo. Okay, so what is going on here? Why did Deng Xiaoping go to this rodeo? The straightforward answer is that in 1979, Deng Xiaoping and the Chinese delegation visited the United States to celebrate the
full normalization of diplomatic relations, to strengthen and to expedite the benefits of this new relationship between China and the United States. I am pleased to announce that Vice Premier Deng has accepted my invitation and will visit Washington at the end of January.
So this is basically a, hey, we're friends now tour where China is like, yeah, we totally go to rodeos with America, and this is what friends do. This is a little like what Nixon was doing when he visited China a few years prior, though now relations are normalized. They recognize each other. It is official. So Deng tours. He goes to the Kennedy Center to see John Denver and the Joffrey Ballet, including a dance to the song Rodeo by Aaron Copland. That's this one. They continue on to Texas on the Normalizing tour, and a Texan Democrat bigwig has a really crazy idea. He decides that he's going to take them to an authentic Texan rodeo in the Houston area. And that is just what they do. They drink beers, they hang out. Deng gets a cowboy hat of his own to wear, and they also give him
not one, but two $10,000 bulls.
Which is useful.
We have good relaxation, good barbecue, good country music, and good rodeo show.
I know this is a PR guy, but he seems genuinely very happy. Then they leave Texas to continue their tour and eventually go back to China. It seems like a cool state visit, and that is why the context is necessary to see what really happened when China went to the rodeo.
Every Saturday night, there's a rodeo at the Roundup Arena in Symington, but they're having a special one Friday at the request of the State Department.
And I'm showing you this because I think there's nothing funnier than people not caring at all about world historical events.
What will you be doing tomorrow night when he's here?
I'm going to be watching a movie on TV, I imagine.
So this event is definitely important to the history of the United States, which is why I mentioned Nixon. And it's important to Taiwan as well. One of the big controversies at the time was the fact that China wanted to take over Taiwan, and the US was kind of saying, okay, we'll do that.
The government of the United States of America acknowledges the Chinese position that there is but one China, and Taiwan is part of China.
American interests were also served by the normalization of relations with China, including in their long Cold War chess game against the USSR. But I would argue that the biggest story here relates to China and China's role in the global economy.
Now, suddenly, we have a new set of East-West relationships.
You gotta remember that at this time, China was not the global superpower that it is today. It was still a developing nation. Here's a timeline with a 30,000-foot view of things. Here's Mao, communism at a brutal point, with the Cultural Revolution making really harsh choices for the Chinese people. Then Deng gets power from the Party of Elites. He initiates a ton of different reforms that set up the China we know today, the kind of hyper-capitalist, authoritarian China. It's also the birth of the capitalism that brings hundreds of millions of Chinese people out of poverty. That's because a big component of Deng's many reforms is opening up China to the rest of the world, especially economically. But how do you actually do that? You have to sell yourself to the world, and in this coverage of the rodeo, you see Deng doing just that. I particularly love this clip of an Austin communist who hates that Deng is betraying Mao through capitalism.
It's time that revolutionaries stood up and exposed these traitors like Deng Xiaoping.
It wasn't just college communists who realized the implications of Deng's trip, though. This article shows how Vietnam was mad, and that the cowboy hat showed his real nature. You can also see the dynamic in this New York Times spread. I love this page in particular because it really shows the dynamics at play. On the top left here, you've got Americans provide many reasons for partiality to China over Soviet. Over here, you've got a change in Chinese spelling, which happened for a lot of reasons, but I like to think of it as basically the West is starting to take China seriously now. And so they're spelling things a little differently. That's why I spelled Deng Xiaoping this way instead of this way in this video. Then here you see the human interest coverage of Deng's trip. And here, right here at the bottom, the main story, the one that is on the front page, is about the economic stuff that's going on here. He wants billions of dollars to start flowing between the two countries. This tour was a way for him to tell American business interests that he is a communist who's a cowboy, just like them.
And everywhere Deng went, there were crowds. But Deng seemed more interested in the equipment than in the swarms of people around him.
But this clip right here, this is the mission that he is on. He's trying to get money flowing from the United States to China, and eventually vice versa. And, it's all about money. So what to make of all this? There are a lot of political opinions about this. On that poll that I did, you can kind of see the range of opinions that people have about this. And I think kind of everybody has a point. I encourage you to debate those things in the comments, but I want to present something that I think we can agree on, even without the nuance, to get into the politics of China and America. And that is, this trip and this rodeo are concrete moments in a really gooey narrative that is vaguely called the rise of China. It is so rare that we get to see tangible scenes from these big movements in history, but I would argue that that is definitely what this is. A tour of the United States where a vice premier hustled for his developing country's survival. He had a big goal to change the fate of China. And because of that goal, he went to Texas and he went to the rodeo. All right, if you have not been here before, this is a personal and history channel where I post videos on the aforementioned personal and history topics. Thank you so much for answering that poll in the community tab. It's pretty awesome to get so many responses and kind of change the headline of this video. So I knew that Deng Xiaoping wouldn't be getting the clicks that China would. So yeah, appreciate that. And yeah, I'd love to know in the comments if you're interested in these sort of topics. I also kind of want to make videos about each of the reforms that Deng did, because they're all really interesting and really impactful. So let me know if that would be of interest or any other topics. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. All right.